another edition of From the Field with the Fans. I'm your host, Odus Evbagharu. And with me for our recaps, we have Schorr, KTSW Sports Director, and Quixem Ramirez, Sports Editor here at the University Star. All right, let me have it. How's the weekend?
Well, not a lot of sleep. Good old Ryder Cup was on. Our good old American boys really made us proud over there in Scotland.
Not really.
Nope. Got to figure something out. And did you hear Phil post? Phil
ripping Tom Watson.
Yeah, not pleased about sitting yesterday. But You know what? Texas's San Antonio's own Jimmy Walker was probably the MVP for the USA, so that was good.
It was good to see Jordan Spieth do really well, too.
Patrick Reed. We need more Patrick Reed. Get some fire. Come on, guys.
Fire, guys.
It was a good weekend for me, too. I mean, I just watched some football. No Ryder Cup things. Good weekend for Bobcat Athletics, especially for soccer, volleyball, football. They all pulled out some victories.
That's true. Getting all W's.
The soccer.
Getting all W's.
Big road trip for soccer.
Oh, yeah, definitely getting a W against Arkansas Little Rock and Arkansas State. Volleyball, getting the W's there. And then, obviously, football. That's what we're here to talk about, right? Triple overtime thriller with Tulsa. I know some people aren't pleased with that, but it's a road game. You got to anticipate the home team coming back a little bit. But giving up a 17-3 lead, I mean, boy, that's tough.
The game should have never seen overtime. That's the thing. You're up 14 points in the fourth quarter. You give up a 7-minute, 17-play drive to let Tulsa score. Credit to Tulsa, too, for executing and everything like that. Not taking anything away from them. But come on. You gotta. The defense has to step up and make a play. I know they were tired. They were just gassed. But you're up 14 points. That game should not see overtime, let alone triple overtime.
Yeah.
And I know that like people were like, oh, it shouldn't have happened. But as a fan and as a writer, it was nice to see it go to overtime because for the first 3.5 quarters, nothing was happening. I had to get some coffee in me, and I'm glad that something of substance was on air. And it turned out well for the Bobcats. So in that regard, I'm glad something happened. Yeah. So just something happened. That's all I asked for.
So you didn't like the punt fest?
Yeah, the punt fest. You like the I think it was trending. We should have got that trending for a little bit on Twitter.
I'm not a punt fest guy. Guy.
Texas State, Tulsa. I mean, yeah.
13 punts in the first half. Yeah. It was more punts than points. I mean, that's when you get to a point where it's like, why is this thing going on?
I was doing a live blog on the KTSW website during the game, and I just like, trading punts. Texas State punts. Tulsa punts. Punt.
Exciting punts, though.
Yeah.
Will Johnson got some in the 10-yard line. Yeah.
It was a punt fest. You'd have to say for that first 3 quarters, man. It was a struggle to watch. I think a lot of us love the offense, and it's weird because you look at the way that Tulsa plays. They want to throw. You look at the way Texas State plays. It's the hurry up, not so much wanting to throw, but they want to run the ball, control possession and stuff. But man, the punt fest, and I got to tell you, the offensive line. And I think part of the reason now is this no huddle starting to catch up to them, because Fran didn't recruit offensive linemen that were athletic. He recruited linemen to run the ball. And now to get this no huddle thing, some of these guys online, you can just tell they are not made for it. When you run that no huddle, quick up-tempo offense, you need fast, athletic guys that can work in space. These guys are worked to, ground and pound. So it's starting to show a little bit, and I'm kind of concerned with them because you can tell that they're tired, tell that they're kind of worn out. You can just tell it's not clicking for them right now.
But with the funky schedule, you kind of get, like the Tuesday game coming up, you kind of get a makeshift bye week after that. Like when you play Tuesday, you're obviously not going to play Saturday again. And before that, you have, I think, like 7 or 10 days in between those games, so they can rest a little bit there. But yeah, I agree. They look tired. And I'll say this: if you have sleep apnea, get that first half on DVR and put that thing on. You will go right to sleep. That's a cure right there.
I second that.
I'm sure Fran will say something about it Tuesday coming lunch, and someone will ask him questions about it.
And what I saw in the first half specifically while we were going through that punt fest was a team that at least initially looked like they really were missing Rob Lowe, who missed the game. He didn't travel. Terrence Franks he finished with 71 yards, 2 touchdowns. But for the first half, I'm looking at it, he couldn't find the rushing angles. He couldn't find the angles that Rob Lowe might have. And it was a little disconcerting. Eventually, they made the most of it. But it didn't look good for a while that they didn't have Rob Lowe for sure.
And before the fourth quarter or overtime, Tyler Jones had like 20 carries for like 5 or he was
making the most out of whatever they
he
had.
was not he couldn't find any rushing until the end of the game. I think he finished with 50 yards maybe.
51. And Terrence Franks with 71. And I think, it was
tough sledding.
You know what's interesting about that? I think people need to realize how important Robert Lowe is to the offense. Point blank. I think everyone sees his know-how. You see the growth of Tyler Jones. Ryan Carden was another guy that did not play. I think that's kind of big for them. They utilize him in a lot of different ways. I know everyone loves Bradley Miller because the makeup, the athletic ability, him being able to stretch the field. But Ryan Carden does a lot for that offense. They missed him a little bit too. But for Rob Lowe, that's an integral part. Hopefully Fran gives us an update on what's going on with him, and hopefully he's not out for too long. But another guy that kind of took a setback was Tim Gay. I know he was able to play, but then he got taken off the field, and that's really sad. You don't ever want to see that happen to him.
It did not look good either.
No,
I'm surprised he walked off on his own power. I will say David Lewis did fill in nicely for Carden, and maybe I'm kind of surprised Gabe Schrade didn't play a little bit. He had a pretty good camp. Maybe we'll see him if Carden's out for an extended period of time. But they were attacking the tight ends across the middle of the field. That was open in the first half and throughout the whole game. So they at least exposed a weakness there. They just couldn't put anything together early on.
Yeah, and what I like about the team, we've talked about setbacks and we've talked about, players missing, but I like the maturation of the receiving corps. We have Bradley Miller, we have Ben Ija. Japhis Gaines didn't have his usual game, but he had that big touchdown on 4th and goal. Tyler Jones is gaining, trust or rapport with these guys, and as you see go along, you have multiple guys that you can get through. And once you get Rob Lowe in the fold and you have him, catching screen passes, this offense could be really dynamic. It already almost is reaching to that point, but I'm liking that at least this year rather than last year, he has options on each throw that he can trust on any given possession.
Yeah, definitely. And I know Quixem's a big stats guy. I know we love our numbers too. Just kind of rattling off some numbers. Bobcats, they average 40 points a game. They were able to get 37, give up 34 to Tulsa. Tulsa, big surge in the fourth quarter, 14 points, 17 in triple overtime. But really big thing is Tyler Jones, the efficiency. 21 to 31, 228 yards, 7.4 was the average per catch, 2 touchdowns. Terrence Franks, again, like you mentioned earlier, led the team in rushing, 20 carries, 71 yards, 2 touchdowns, had the game winner. Very emotional guy. I can only imagine what he's been through. When he was first year, he was the guy. And then, he works here for 4 years, and it doesn't quite go his way. You have Robert Lowe, Tim Gay, Chris Nuttall, all those guys coming in. And just for him personally, for the hard work to pay off is a big deal. Like Warren said, 20 carries for Tyler Jones, 51 yards. He got a touchdown. Bradley Miller, 8 receptions, 112 yards. Ben Ija, a touchdown, 3 receptions for 40 yards. David Lewis, like you alluded to, 3 receptions, 30 yards. So all in all, Bobcats offensively, it seems like they're finding the rhythm. And one thing that I love about this year's team compared to last year's team is the fact that there's passing yards. Last year, it was slant screens and little hitches. Bobcats rarely stretch the field. Bobcats rarely go across the middle. It was a struggle. The only time they go across the middle was misdirection. Now the Bobcats are starting to find it, opening lanes, and I know a big part has to do with that running attack, but I think this no huddle is actually doing wonders to help with that passing game.
And it was nice, too, to see it this game because against Illinois, they didn't really stretch the field at all. Illinois kind of loaded them up in the box in the second half, and they really didn't take any deep shots, and it was nice to see against Tulsa them throwing it down the field to stretch it because then with Franks in there, maybe there's less people in the box. You get him some more space to work in. He can miss a couple tackles. And then for Jones, the read option works there. Maybe do that fake play where they fakes the run and then does that pass. I like that play a lot. Yeah. And it's worked a couple times too, but maybe that sets up the deep ball again too. But it was nice to see them stretch the field more than they did against Illinois.
And the key to me about this whole stretching the field and adding some diversity offensively is Tyler Jones. He's a way different quarterback than he was last year. He's making the throws. He's able to make them, which allows Fran to call them. And he's creating plays through his running game. It's just like he's a completely different quarterback this year. And whenever he's needed to make a play on 4th and goal, on 3rd and goal to do anything for this team, for the most part this year he's delivered. And it's kind of like you see that, and it definitely bodes well for the coming up year because if he's able to make those plays when they really need him, there's no limits to this offense.
So what you're saying is that 2015 open up the year
Jones
against
for Heisman.
Florida State. Make
That's
a
exactly
statement.
what I'm saying. Yeah,
That's what I'm hearing.
I'm going to go ahead and pick it right now.
I'm pulling Skip Bayless right now.
Yeah.
You know, he hears one thing and says another. So that's what I'm trying to go for. So that's all I'm hearing is Tyler Jones, Heisman 2015. Knock on wood. You never want to put that.
If there's another Skip Bayless reference, I'm about to just see you guys later. Good show.
Tulsa, Dane Evans, 23 of 50, on par, 234 yards, 5.9 average per catch, 2 touchdowns. James Flanders led the Tulsa Golden Hurricanes, not Tornadoes, but Hurricanes. 21 carries, 112 yards, 5.3 per average. But Tulsa, 200 yards running, on the Bobcats. Defensive line, recruiting trail is going to have to be hot and heavy with defensive linemen. Biggest problem, I think, is they're just undersized. I mean, they're just getting beat up because I think Fran figured it out with the offensive line. I think the offensive line now, size-wise, can compete with the Lafayettes, compete with the Monroes, compete with Georgia Southern, all these other schools that are going to be in the Sun Belt that we're going to see with big defensive linemen. But defensive line, I don't think they figured it out, and they are just undersized. I mean, when Michael Odiari is, the bigger name that you can think of, I mean, that guy is almost as tall as I am, and I'm, a nice 6 foot. I like to tell people a lot.
Well, you're like the stature. You're like the roster. Then 6 feet. Give yourself a couple inches there. If you're 6 foot, then I'm like 6'2". We all know that's a lie. But yeah, no. And this ain't Navy too. This isn't Navy we're talking about here. It's expected for Navy to run like over 300 yards. The defense did hold them to their lowest rushing total, but man, this was an issue last week against Illinois. Tulsa, like we said, a more passing offense, adjusted their game plan to run the ball. I think they ran it like 40 times. I only imagine Idaho and Lafayette and every team else up on the schedule is gonna have a more run-based attack for their offensive game plan against us until we stop it. Because why would you not run it at us? There's holes. You're getting 6-7 yards a carry. It seemed like the whole time, and guys aren't getting up their blocks. I don't really know. They just need to play better, I think.
Yeah, it's 2 straight weeks against 2 opponents that aren't very good at running that, put season high numbers. So it's definitely disconcerting there. I also see the pass rush for the most part isn't there. You see kind of Dane Evans. I mean, the completion percentage was down. I mean, they really got to him, but I mean, I don't see the pressure consistently there, and it starts there, and then it kind of puts pressure on Craig Maber, puts pressure on David Mims to do some extra things there, and it's worked out fine. I mean, you see David Mayo put 20 tackles, Odiari got 13 himself, but other than that, it was a very thin linebacker core, and they were just kind of like put guys in there, kind of hope Steven Smith do some things. Jared Jeter Gilmon was ejected, that kind of hurt them a bit. You have Trey McGowan. It's just they're going down the line, and the further you go down, their defense is definitely going to take a hit, and that's something to watch for, because if they're allowing 34 points, it's going to put a little bit uneasy pressure on the offense to outscore them.
On the broadcast, Bill and Brandt, Bill Culhane and Brand Freeman mentioned when Steven Smith went off, they only had three or four linebackers left. They are very thin at the linebacker position right now, so they need to figure out something there. Boy, it's
I'm just saying, suit up, put some, you can go out and try to walk on.
Yeah,
Fran loves us, so maybe he'll give us a chance at linebacker.
I was more of a cornerback when I played, but
okay.
I'm more of a punter.
Oh, okay.
I'm more of a punter in that realm.
Never mind, Fran. I'll be the only one out there to put some pads on. All right, really quick. We love to do our spotlight players. Mr. Schorr, you got a spotlight player?
I was going to do Bradley Miller. He was my player to watch in the pregame show yesterday. He must have listened to me right before. Must have had those headphones in warming
Saturday.
up. Yeah. And he has to step up now. He's one of the main. I know he's considered a tight end, but I don't really like using him as a tight end because they line him up outside in the slot. He's like the pass catcher, is what the tight ends have now traded themselves as. But he's just one of the guys that opens up the offense. He had a good 8 catches, 112 yards.
They have to call themselves pass catchers. They're trying to get paid.
Yeah. I mean, he had that nice catch in overtime, in the triple overtime that set up the run. That was real nice. He got both feet down, too, so it would have counted in the NFL. That was a real nice catch there. He was my standout guy.
I'm going to go. I don't have a lot of chance to, spotlight this guy. I'm going to go Will Johnson. He got 8 punts, 42 yards per punt. I mean, 4 punts inside their own 20, including 2 at the 1. He just had the magic touch. And in the first half, putting them in that field position, that was really the whole key, because, I mean, they're usually an explosive offense, and putting them behind the 8-ball where you're having to traverse 90, 98 yards, it really helped the defense and the offense settle in before the real fun started.
Yeah, and you need to give him credit for the 49-yard field goal, too. He ended up starting in place of Jason Dan.
Yeah, he didn't miss anything. That's also key.
Trotted him out there at 49 yards. That's no cupcake.
Yeah.
And knocked it right through the
a year
right
after
down the
missing
middle.
5 field goals last year. So it's nice to see him get back on track.
Yeah.
Wonder what that means for Jason Dan. Terrence Franks is my spotlight player. 20 carries, 71 yards, 2 touchdowns. He gets the game-winning rush, and I know for him it means a lot. I know for him he was very emotional after the game. It's good to see him kind of get it together in the start for Rob Blow and kind of put the rushing offense on his back and deliver for the Bobcats. So I thought that was really huge for Terrence Franks.
Yeah, you could see how much it meant to him. Just go check out his Twitter feed.
Yeah.
There were a lot of people tweeting at him about the touchdown, and then he was retweeting every one of those. And I don't have a problem with that at all, but he was blowing up people's timelines, and he was tweeting about it. It was cool to see. So, yeah, you could tell it meant a lot to him.
You guys got any final thoughts before we leave this lovely show?
Just the mindset of winning that game, because when we went to when they went to overtime, I don't like the term "we." I didn't play the game. I don't like that. But when the game went to overtime, it definitely had to feel like it was going to be a loss. I think it had that vibe. You can just sense it. The defense couldn't stop. They couldn't stop them. The offense couldn't get anything going. You just had that vibe. But, boy, pulling out that win, too, triple overtime, then the difference between 1-3 and 2-2, and especially losing a 14-point lead, that if you would have lost that game, that would have been tough.
Yeah, not only did the team, fight through adversity and pull a game that mostly they don't. I'd like to address, following the passing away of David Gish, the head athletic trainer. Coach Franchione talked about how he kind of felt like he had a little touch on the game and he was there, and they kind of did it for him. And I'd like to, point out that this was a really important game for the program, but also, after a week when they lost one of their most important people of the athletic program, they kind of fought back and, won one for him.
Yeah, facing adversity.
Yeah.
I think that's a big message. I think I look at these 4 non-conference games, go 2-2, go 500. The thing that resonates with me is this team could be 4-0. I think the Navy game, the second possession of the Navy game just
derailed
them.
Yeah,
it really hurt them a lot. And I think they could have won that game. Illinois should have been a win. That no doubt in my mind should be a win. So I look at this team like be 4-0, could have beaten a Big Ten team, beat a really good independent team in Navy. So final thought there, 2-2, you head into conference play, a winnable game in San Marcos against Idaho, homecoming. And hopefully Bobcat fans are out there supporting the players, and hopefully the Bobcats can come back home and start a little win thing. So that way, hey, come Tuesday against Lafayette, they're ready.
They better beat Idaho too. They lost. They're 0-4 on the year. They are not good.
Yeah. So.
That's a must-win heading into Lafayette.
Yeah. And I think the Tulsa game was a must-win too as well.
Yeah.
For them to capitalize and do all that stuff. And like you said, David Gish, they did it for the athletic trainer that's been with them for years and couldn't defeat cancer, unfortunately. So that was a great point to make up. But for us, we're leaving. If you have any comments or any questions, you can see us at universitystar.com, ktsw.net. We're on there too as well. Twitter handles, we have a lot of them, at University Star, at KTSW Sports, at UStar_sports, using the hashtag #FieldToFans. If you have any comments or questions or any predictions or anything like that, anything that you want to tell us, lovely people. For Sports Editor Quixem Ramirez, or KTSW Sports Director Warren Schorr, I am Odus Evbagharu, and like I always tell you guys, we'll see you next time. Bye.